The snow fell in heavy sheets, blanketing the quiet streets of Rochester, New York, as Ethan Carter stumbled through the storm, his thin jacket no match for the biting cold. At 17, he was used to being invisible, another gay kid in a small, judgmental town, hiding who he was to survive. But tonight, a faint cry pierced the wind, stopping him dead in his tracks. Ethan's heart raced as he followed the sound, his sneakers sinking into the snow. The alley behind the old diner was dark, the kind of place where secrets were buried. There, tucked against a dumpster, was a Bunley baby, barely a few months old, wrapped in a tattered blanket, her tiny face red from crying. Her wails were weak, almost lost to the storm. Ethan's breath caught. He didn't think. He just acted, scooping her into his arms, her small body trembling against his chest. Hey, it's okay, he whispered, his voice shaking. He wasn't sure if he was comforting her or himself. The baby's cries softened as Ethan held her close, shielding her from the wind. He glanced around, half expecting someone to claim her, but the alley was empty. His mind spun, who leaves a baby in the snow? Panic clawed at him, but he couldn't leave her here. Not like this. He tucked her inside his jacket, her warmth a fragile anchor against his racing thoughts. That's when he heard footsteps crunching behind him. Ethan turned, tense, ready to bolt. It was Caleb Nguyen, the quiet kid from his English class, all sharp cheekbones and soft eyes, standing there in a too-big coat. At 16, Caleb was an enigma, openly gay, unapologetic, but always on the fringes, like he carried a weight no one could see. Ethan, what the hell? Caleb's voice was low, urgent, his gaze flicking to the baby. Is that a baby? Yeah, Ethan said, his voice barely above a whisper. Found her here. She was just left. His words felt inadequate, like they couldn't hold the weight of the moment. Caleb stepped closer, his breath visible in the cold, and for a second, their eyes locked. There was something in Caleb's stare, concern, maybe, or something deeper Ethan couldn't name. We can't stay here, Caleb said, his tone steady despite the chaos. My place is close. Come on. Ethan hesitated, the baby's soft whimpers pulling him back. He didn't know Caleb well, just fleeting glances and small talk in class. But there was no one else. No one he trusted more in this moment. He nodded, and they moved through the snow. Two boys and a baby, bound by a choice neither could walk away from. Caleb's apartment was a cramped, second-floor walk-up above a laundromat, the kind of place that smelled like cheap coffee and old wood. His mom was working the night shift at the hospital, leaving the place empty. Ethan sat on the worn couch, the baby still nestled against him, her breathing steadier now. Caleb rummaged through a closet, pulling out a soft blanket and a bottle of formula his mom kept for her cousin's kid. Here, he said, handing Ethan the bottle. She's probably starving. Ethan fed her, his hands clumsy but gentle. The baby drank greedily, her tiny fingers curling against the bottle. Caleb watched, leaning against the wall, his arms crossed. You're good at this, he said, a small smile tugging at his lips. Ethan's face warmed, and he ducked his head, focusing on the baby. Just trying not to mess up, he mumbled. They didn't talk much as the night wore on, but the silence wasn't heavy. It was shared, like a secret they were both keeping. Caleb made a makeshift crib from a laundry basket, padding it with blankets. Ethan laid the baby down, her eyes fluttering closed. What do we do now? He asked, his voice raw. Caleb didn't answer right away. He sat beside Ethan, close enough that their shoulders brushed, and for the first time, Ethan didn't pull away. We figure it out, Caleb said finally. Together. The word hung in the air, heavy with possibility. Ethan didn't know what tomorrow would bring. Police questions. Or worse, but for now, they were here. Two boys who'd found something worth protecting. The baby slept, unaware of the storm she'd ignited in their lives, or the secrets her existence would unravel. By morning, the snow had stopped, but the world outside Caleb's window felt no less chaotic. Ethan hadn't slept, his eyes fixed on the baby, their baby now, in a way he couldn't explain. Her name, they decided, was Lily, a soft word that felt right for her fragile warmth. Caleb was already up, brewing coffee in a pot that looked older than both of them. We need a plan, he said, sliding a mug toward Ethan. We can't just keep her here. Ethan nodded, but his stomach twisted. The idea of handing Lily over to strangers to a system he'd heard horror stories about felt wrong. He'd grown up dodging judgment, hiding his truth to avoid being sent away. What would happen to her? We should call someone, Caleb continued, his voice gentle but firm. Social services. Maybe. They'll know what to do. Ethan's grip tightened on the mug. And then what? They take her, and we never know if she's okay. His voice cracked, betraying the fear he'd been holding back. Caleb's eyes softened, and he reached out, his hand hovering before resting on Ethan's arm. We'll make sure she's safe. I promise. The touch lingered, a quiet spark in the morning light. Ethan's heart stuttered, not just from the contact, but from the weight of Caleb's promise. He wasn't used to people keeping their word. Growing up with a dad who saw his identity as a sin and a mom who looked the other way, Ethan had learned to rely on himself. But Caleb was different. He didn't flinch, didn't judge. It was disarming. They spent the day piecing together what they could for Lily diapers from a corner store, a secondhand onesie Caleb's neighbor donated. Every small act felt like defiance, like they were carving out a space for her in a world that had abandoned her. But the question of her origins gnawed Ethan. Why was she left? Was someone looking for her? The thought made his chest tight. That afternoon, they took Lily to a clinic, claiming she was a cousin's kid to avoid questions. The doctor, a kind woman with graying hair, checked her over. She's dehydrated, but okay, she said, her eyes lingering on Ethan and Caleb. You boys did good, keeping her warm. Ethan felt a surge of pride, but it was fleeting. The doctor's next words hit hard. You need to report this. She's not yours to keep. Back at Caleb's, the air felt heavier. Ethan sat on the floor, Lily asleep in her basket, while Caleb paced. She's right, Caleb said. We could get in trouble if we don't tell someone. Ethan's jaw clenched. And if her parents are out there, what if they're bad? What if they hurt her? His voice was low, fierce. Caleb stopped pacing, his gaze steady. Then we fight for her. But we do it right. That night, they sat closer, their knees touching as they watched Lily sleep. Caleb's hand brushed Ethan's, and this time, neither pulled away. It wasn't just about Lily anymore. Something was shifting between them, a fragile trust born in the chaos. Ethan didn't know if it was love or need or something else entirely, but it was real, and it scared him as much as it grounded him. The police station was a cold, fluorescent-lit building that smelled of stale coffee and regret. Ethan clutched Lily's basket, his knuckles white, as he and Caleb sat across from a tired-looking officer named Detective Ruiz. You found her where? Ruiz asked, scribbling notes. Ethan recounted the alley, the snow, the cry that had changed everything. Caleb sat beside him, his presence a steady anchor. Ruiz's eyes narrowed. No ID, no note, nothing. Ethan shook his head, his throat tight. Just her. The officer sighed, leaning back. We'll run it through the system. See if anyone's reported a missing kid. But you too. You can't just keep her. Ethan's heart sank. But Caleb's hand found his under the table. A silent "we're in this together." Back home, Ethan's dad was waiting, his face a storm of disapproval. You're bringing trouble into this house, he growled, eyeing the basket. What's this about a baby? Ethan froze, the old fear of his father's judgment creeping in. I found her, he said, voice steady despite the tremor in his chest. She needed help. His dad scoffed. You and your friend. Always causing problems. The word friend dripped with disdain, and Ethan felt the sting of years spent hiding. Caleb stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. We're trying to do what's right, Mr. Carter. Ethan's dad glared but said nothing, retreating to his room. Ethan let out a shaky breath, grateful for Caleb's courage. They took Lily to Caleb's place, the only safe haven they had. Days passed, and the police found no missing reports. No leads. Lily became their world, her giggles a bright spot in the uncertainty. But whispers spread in their small town. At school, kids stared, and teachers asked pointed questions. Ethan felt the weight of eyes on him, judging, assuming. Caleb, though, was unshaken, his confidence a shield Ethan envied. One night, as they fed Lily, Caleb spoke softly. You ever think about us? Like, what this could mean? Ethan's heart skipped. He'd felt it pull toward Caleb, the way their hands lingered, the way Caleb's smile made the world less heavy. But admitting it felt like stepping off a cliff. I don't know, he whispered. I'm scared. Caleb's eyes held his, steady and warm. Me too. But maybe scared is okay. Their first kiss was tentative, a brush of lips in the dim light of Caleb's room. Lily asleep nearby. It was clumsy, real, and perfect. For a moment, the world outside didn't exist, just them, and the promise of something new. The news broke on a Tuesday, shattering their fragile peace. A local reporter had caught wind of the mystery baby and spun it into a sensational story. Teens find abandoned infant in snowstorm. Ethan's phone buzzed with notifications, each one a knife to his nerves. At school, the whispers turned to stares, and Caleb's usual confidence wavered under the scrutiny. Worse, Ethan's dad was furious. You're making us a spectacle, he shouted, slamming a fist on the table. Ethan stood his ground, Lily's basket at his feet. I'm not sorry for helping her, he said, his voice stronger than he felt. His dad's face twisted, and for a moment, Ethan braced for worse. But his dad just walked away, leaving a cold silence. Caleb's mom, Lynn, was kinder but worried. You boys are in over your heads, she said, her voice gentle as she watched Lily play. This isn't a game. There are laws, consequences. Ethan nodded, but his heart rebelled. Lily wasn't just a responsibility, she was theirs, in a way that felt deeper than blood. That night, Caleb found Ethan sitting on the fire escape, staring at the stars. You okay? Caleb asked, sitting close. Ethan shook his head. I keep thinking, what if we can't keep her? What if they take her away? Caleb's hand found his, their fingers intertwining. Then we make sure she's loved, no matter what. Their bond grew stronger, forged in late-night feedings and shared fears. But the world wasn't done with them. Detective Ruiz called. Her voice clipped. We found something. A woman came forward. Says she's the mother. Ethan's heart stopped. What does she want? He asked, Ruiz hesitated. She's not stable. There's history. We're looking into it. The woman, Maria, was a ghost from Rochester's underbelly addiction. Poverty. A life unraveling. Ethan and Caleb met her at the station. Lily in Ethan's arms. Maria's eyes were hollow, her hands shaking as she reached for the baby. She's mine, Maria whispered, but her gaze darted. Unsteady. Ethan's grip tightened. He didn't trust her, not with Lily. Caleb's voice was calm, but his eyes burned. What's your plan for her? He asked. Maria faltered, her words a jumble of promises and excuses. Ethan felt a surge of protectiveness, not just for Lily, but for the life they were building. He looked at Caleb, and in that moment, they knew they'd fight for her, no matter the cost. The meeting with Maria left Ethan and Caleb reeling. Back at Caleb's, they sat in silence. Lily's soft coo's the only sound. She's not ready, Ethan said finally, his voice low. She can't take care of her. Caleb nodded, but his expression was grim. It's not our call. The system doesn't care what we think. They researched, scouring the internet for laws on abandonment and custody. Every article felt like a punch. Biological parents had rights, even flawed ones. Ethan's fear grew, a gnawing dread that Lily would be taken. Caleb, though, was a quiet force, his determination a lifeline. We'll find a way, he said, his hand squeezing Ethan's. We're not giving up. School became a battlefield. Rumors swirled. Some kids called them heroes. Others whispered slurs. Ethan's dad stopped speaking to him entirely, the silence louder than any argument. Caleb faced his own struggles, his mom's worry, his classmates' cruelty. But together, they were unbreakable, their love a shield against the world. A social worker, Ms. Harper, visited, her clipboard a symbol of authority. You've done well, she said, watching Lily giggle in Ethan's arms. But this isn't sustainable. She needs a legal guardian. Ethan's heart sank, but Caleb spoke up. What if we tried to foster her? Ms. Harper's eyebrows rose. You're minors. That's not how it works. The words stung, but they lit a fire in Ethan. He wasn't just a kid anymore. Lily had changed him. And so had Caleb. They met with a lawyer, a pro bono advocate who listened to their story. It's a long shot, she said, but we can petition for temporary custody. Argue you're her de facto guardians. It was a sliver of hope, fragile but real. That night, Caleb pulled Ethan close, their foreheads touching. I love you, Caleb whispered, the words raw and honest. Ethan's breath caught, tears stinging his eyes. I love you too, he said, the admission freeing something inside him. They held each other, Lily sleeping nearby, a family forged in defiance of the odds. The petition was a gamble, a stack of papers against a system that favored blood over love. Ethan and Caleb spent hours with the lawyer, building their case. They gathered statements. Len, the doctor, even Detective Ruiz vouched for their care. But Maria was still out there, her claim a shadow over their hope. At school, the pressure mounted. A local news crew showed up, cameras flashing as Ethan and Caleb left class. Heroes or vigilantes? The headline read. Ethan hated the attention, the way it twisted their story. Caleb, though, faced the cameras with quiet defiance. We're just trying to keep her safe, he said, his voice steady. Ethan's heart swelled with pride. Maria's hearing was set for a week later. Ethan and Caleb prepared, their nights filled with research and worry. Lynn helped, her quiet support a balm. You're good boys, she said, her eyes soft. But this fight, it's bigger than you. Ethan knew she was right, but giving up wasn't an option. The hearing was a blur of legal jargon and tense silences. Maria sat across the room, her eyes darting. She spoke of wanting Lily back, but her words were shaky. Her history laid bare addiction, instability, a life unfit for a child. Ethan's heart ached for her, but his resolve didn't waver. Lily deserved more. The judge, a stern woman with kind eyes, listened as their lawyer argued. These boys have shown extraordinary care, she said. They've acted as family. Ethan's hand found Caleb's, their fingers tight. The judge's ruling was temporary. Lily would stay with them under supervision, pending further investigation. It wasn't victory, but it was time. That night, they celebrated quietly, feeding Lily and laughing as she grabbed Caleb's finger. Their love was a quiet rebellion, a promise to each other and to her. But Ethan felt a new weight, a whisper of something bigger, a secret about Lily they hadn't yet uncovered. The secret came in a letter, slipped under Caleb's door with no return address. Inside was a single page, typed and signed. The child is Eleanor Grayson, heir to the Grayson estate. Keep her safe. They're watching. Ethan's hands shook as he read it, the words a bomb in their fragile world. The Grayson estate was no small thing, billions, tied to a reclusive family known for power and secrecy. Ethan and Caleb scoured the internet, finding whispers of a missing heiress, a scandal buried years ago. Was Lily Eleanor the key? The thought was dizzying. Why us? Ethan asked, his voice tight. Caleb's jaw was set. Doesn't matter. We protect her. They told no one, not even Lynn. The letter felt like a warning, a shadow closing in. At school, Ethan noticed things, strangers lingering, cars slowing near Caleb's place. Paranoia or truth? He couldn't tell. Caleb felt it too, his usual calm fraying. We need to be careful, he said, his hand brushing Ethan's. No one takes her. The social worker's visits grew stricter, her questions sharper. Ethan lied smoothly, his fear for Lily outweighing his guilt. Caleb, though, was bolder, meeting her gaze with quiet defiance. We're her family, he said, and Ethan believed him. Their love was a fortress, Lily its heart. One night, a man approached them outside the laundromat, his suit too sharp for their neighborhood. You have something that doesn't belong to you, he said, his voice cold. Ethan's heart raced, but Caleb stepped forward, unflinching. She's not a thing. She's ours. The man's eyes narrowed, but he left, his threat lingering. Ethan couldn't sleep, his mind racing with questions. Who was after Lily? What did they want? Caleb held him, their bodies close, their fears shared. We'll figure it out, Caleb whispered. Together. Ethan nodded, clinging to the promise, even as the world felt like it was closing in. The truth unraveled in a lawyer's office, a sleek building in downtown Rochester. The man from the letter was there, James Grayson, Lily's uncle, his face lined with regret. She's my sister's daughter, he said, his voice low. Her mother, she ran, hid her from the family. They wanted control, her inheritance. Ethan's heart pounded. Lily was a pawn in a billionaire's game. Grayson's story was a tangle of greed and betrayal. Lily's mother had died, her identity hidden to protect her child. The family thought Lily was lost until Ethan and Caleb found her. Now, factions within the Grayson empire wanted her, not for love, but for power. James was different. I want her safe, he said. With you. The boys listened, Lily in Ethan's arms, her tiny hand clutching his finger. James offered protection, resources, but no guarantees. They'll come for her, he warned. Ethan looked at Caleb, their eyes speaking a shared vow. They'd fight, not for money, but for her. The court granted them temporary custody, a miracle born of their lawyer's skill and James's influence. But the fight wasn't over. They moved to a safe house, funded by James, a quiet place where Lily could grow. Ethan and Caleb built a life there, their love a steady flame. They faced whispers, threats, but together, they were unstoppable. Years later, Lily called them Papa and Dad, her laughter filling their home. The Grayson empire faded, its shadows no match for their family. Ethan and Caleb, once two scared boys in a snowstorm, had become something more: guardians, partners, a beacon of love in a world that tried to break them. Their story wasn't just about saving Lily. It was about saving each other, about finding home in the chaos. And as they watched her play, snow falling softly outside, Ethan knew they'd done more than survive. They'd built something beautiful, something worth every fight.